So here's the deal. College football playoff is going to expand in the not-too-distant future. You know it and I know it. You don't have to be happy about it. I'm not happy about it, but I promise you I will watch the heck out of every single game. When it does get here, it's good for business. Another conversation for another time. I got my own feelings about that. But with the college football playoff still at 4 games this coming season, I'm here to tell you there's more than just 4 playoff games. There's more than just those 4 playoff teams. More than just, 3 playoff games when it comes to that point in time. Took a look at the schedule, and I'm here to tell you, I think there's 4 college football playoff games in the month of September. In the month of September, 4 games that I think are going to drastically change these teams' fortunes when it comes to what they are playing for at the end of the season. So without further ado, let's take a look at week 1. On a Sunday, September 3rd, in Orlando, we got LSU and we got Florida State. Remember this game last year? Florida State won, blocking the extra point, never say die. Mike Norvell and the boys find a way to get it done, and that was when we all kind of got introduced to Mike Norvell's version of Florida State. And a loss for either team in this scenario, you have to be perfect the rest of the way. Because LSU, they still have to go to Ole Miss. They have to go to Alabama. They have to deal with the rest of an SEC schedule. Should they end up in Atlanta again, they got to play somebody in the SEC title game. Like, it is an absolute gauntlet for LSU the rest of the way. Dropping a game to Florida State does not set you up for success. Same thing with Florida State. They have to go to Clemson. We'll talk about that here later in a little bit. Spoiler. But who knows what the rest of the ACC is going to be, man. It's college football, the best game in the entire world. It is so difficult to speak in absolutes with 18-year-olds playing the game. Like, we just don't know who's going to show up week in and week out. We don't know what the ACC is going to be just yet. Heck, Duke was good last year. How about the Dukes, man? Florida State, this is a very big game for them. Both these teams have college football playoff aspirations, and a loss here, again, would just shrink the margin a ton. Think about it this way, too. Either team that loses, it forces a tremendous reset mentally. Because like I said, both teams, they got their eye on the prize now, conference title, and go play for a college football playoff berth. That is both these teams' goals in their respective conferences. You lose your first game of the year? Whoa. Okay, we're walking the tightrope now. We really got to pick it up here. Now we really got to play our game. The mulligan is gone. So this is absolutely a playoff game, and I'm excited to see it. Neutral site should be a blast. And, don't let them tell you it's not a playoff game. We got a playoff game week 1 of the regular season. Shout out everybody tuned in live. Shout out everybody on podcast. We love y'all, man. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, at JD Pickell. All right, we appreciate y'all for that. Moving right along here. Another playoff game. How long do we got to wait? 7 days. From one playoff game to another, you got to wait 7 days. Because week 2, you got Texas going to Tuscaloosa Saturday, September 9th. Last year, everybody and their mama was calling Alabama rolling into Austin and blowing the brakes off the Longhorns. And what happened? A 1-point Alabama victory. It was a close one. I think it'll be close again, actually, this coming season. Very, very much so hope that the hard count is on the road and at this game. More details on that in the future, but just a little nugget for you, something to chew on. Hope the hard count's out this game. Alabama, after Texas, they still have Tennessee. They have LSU, the Iron Bowl. You're saying, what about Auburn? You kidding me? We're talking about Auburn being a threat to Alabama. Listen, y'all, college football rivalries, they do not make sense to me, and they don't make sense to anybody because they have no logic to them. Alabama, should they lose this game, it'll be a narrative game. Let's put a pin in that. It'll be a narrative game for Alabama. In the same way, it'll be a narrative game for Texas because the Big 12 is the Big 12, and it's gladiator, knockdown, drag-out style every single week, but it's a narrative game for Texas as well. Here's what you're going to hear if Texas wins this football game. Again, only week 2 of the college football season. Still got 10 more games to play, or 10 more weeks, rather, to play it out. Here's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear, man, Texas is back. Hook 'em, baby. 40 acres. The good times are here again. Let's roll, boys. Let's roll. Texas is back. You're also going to hear, man, Alabama, we knew it. Everybody was saying it all year long. Everybody was saying it all offseason long. Tyler Buchner, who? Tommy Rees, what? Nick Saban's lost his touch. Alabama down bad. We all knew it, boys. It's only week 2. only week 2. Now, the other thing you'll hear, if Alabama wins, you're going to hear, man, same old Texas. Same old Texas. Same old all that talent, underachieving Texas. Guess Steve Sarkisian wasn't the guy. You'll also hear, man, Alabama, we ain't going nowhere. We're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. Nick Saban has lost no juice. What I'm trying to say is the narrative is going to boom so far either way, regardless of the result for either team. I just want to sort of get out ahead of that and tell you it's going to be week 2. It's going to be week 2. So we're not making statements on either of these teams based on how this game shakes out. I don't know that we have, a definition on either team, whether Texas wins or Alabama wins. It'd be a big deal now for both teams. It'd be a big deal to win this game, but it's a playoff game in the sense that the rest of the slate is so tough for both these teams. For both these teams, it's so tough. So it's a playoff game in the sense that same thing I just said with LSU and Florida State, you lose your mulligan, but the narrative around this game, I just want us to be careful around how we approach it, okay? But a playoff game nonetheless. So let's go back now. We're going to skip week 3. Not that we're skipping week 3 because there's not great games. I think there is great games in week 3, and I promise you there'll be something to talk about when week 3 gets here. But let's talk about week 4. I want to go back to Florida State. So let's just say Florida State fans, do not get upset with me here. I'm playing out a scenario, hypothetical scenario. We're not picking this game. Let's say that Florida State ends up dropping to LSU. Close game, back and forth, Jaden Daniels and company, they end up getting it done. So Florida State rolls into Death Valley to play Clemson week 4, Saturday, September 23rd, with 1 loss. And their back is up against the wall now. For Florida State, this would be the last ACC hurdle, foreseeably at least. And if they want to play for the college football playoff, and I promise you the good folks in Tallahassee do, I have it on good authority, they want to play in the college football playoff, shocker, they can get in there with 1 loss. You lose 2 games, chances are few and far between. No 2-loss teams ever made the dance, okay? So for Florida State, this is big for their ACC hopes, but for their college football playoff hopes, again, what this whole segment is about, it's a very, very big deal. So in terms of them being able to play for the ACC title, if they were to beat LSU and they were to drop this game, yes, they're still on the hunt, but you don't want to pass your destiny off to somebody else's hands, right? Never want to do that. You want to hang on to your own destiny. For Clemson, this would put them on the ropes should they lose this game because they still have to play Notre Dame, to play North Carolina. They go to South Carolina when they lost to South Carolina at home a season ago. Schedule is brutal. The gauntlet is the epitome of brutal for both these teams. You're going to figure out exactly what the rest of your slate looks like. But for Florida State, again, by week 4, if they don't take care of business in week 1 and they lose to Clemson, like that could be all she wrote, man. And the hype train's off the tracks. And the conversation around Florida State making the college football playoff, that conversation dies down substantially. Like, this is a playoff game. This is a playoff game. I promise you. This is going to determine exactly the course for them when it comes to making that Final Four on Selection Sunday. So this will be a whole lot of fun. Now, in that exact same week, week 4, got another playoff game for you. This is the 4th playoff game I want to talk about in the month of September. And another one I hope we're at, either Clemson, Florida State, or Ohio State, Notre Dame. I hope we're at one of these games. Ohio State going to South Bend to play Notre Dame. And we're going to learn a lot about both these teams very early on. Because if Notre Dame loses this playoff game, their college football playoff hopes, in my opinion, are somewhere between deceased and on life support. Because remember now, Notre Dame, when conference championship weekend rolls around, guess what they're doing? Chilling on the couch, watching it. They're not in a conference. And we've seen a couple of times that can bite Notre Dame should they not be in position with a clean slate, chilling, waiting for whoever ends up playing them in the college football playoff. So if they drop this game, it is very, very bad news. It's not novel analysis. Notre Dame needs to win this game. Now for Ohio State, breaking a new quarterback, whether it's Devin Brown or Kyle McCord, this is early enough in their season to where I think the psyche of this team, should they drop it, could be at risk because you still got to play Wisconsin at Wisconsin. You got to play Penn State. You got to go to Michigan, a team that you failed to beat now in 2 tries the last 2 years. Like, stakes are high in this one. Either way, if you drop this game for either team, you lose control of your destiny. But for Ohio State to have one loss and to stare Penn State, Wisconsin, and Michigan in the face, I don't feel great about that. With a first-year quarterback, I don't like that one bit. So for Ohio State, best case, you have no room to breathe. Worst case, you need some help should you drop this game. So to recap it for you, September has 4 college football playoff games from where I'm sitting. You got LSU and Florida State week 1. You got Texas at Bama week 2. You got Florida State going to Death Valley to play Clemson in week 4. And then that very same day, you got Ohio State going to South Bend to play Sam Hartman and company at Notre Dame. So those are the college football playoff games the month of September. I hope we're at least half of those, but we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.